You're listening to Living Out Loud with my mom, Michele Flamer. Yep, she's a flamer and proud of it. Get ready to learn about queers in your communities doing great things every week.
Welcome back to Living Out Loud. Very excited about today's conversation as it is one rooted in love, resilience, and the deeply human journey of living through loss. I am honored to sit down with author Jackie L. Disch, a lifelong writer whose work reminds us that storytelling is not just an art form, but an act of survival. Her newest memoir, Losing Katy, a memoir of love, loss, and living grief, is a genre blending reflection of love and grief that traces her journey through the illness and passing of her wife, Katy, and the years that followed. Through poetic prose, journal entries, and emotional insight, Jackie offers something rare, not closure, but companionship, not answers, but hopefully some understanding. Her writing has always been personal, created with the hope of helping others feel less alone in moments when life feels unbearable. Today, we are not just talking about loss, we are talking about love that continues, grief that evolves, and what it truly means to live while carrying both. Jackie, the minimalist on social media or in the world, welcome. How are you?
That was a great introduction.
Thank you. I'm honored to have you say that because I want to hold space for all that you've endured and how you are standing here today. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm really glad that we got to connect, and I'm excited to hear a little bit the kind of the way that I really like to share with the listeners, with the Pod Squad, is to sometimes go back a little bit, back to young Jackie, and what childhood, what life looked like, your coming out story and what that might feel like, and also learning about the trajectory of how you became a writer, or were you born a writer? I have lots of good questions for you.
Okay. I jokingly just told somebody recently that you're familiar with the term baby dyke.
Yes.
Well, I came out of the womb as the original baby dyke,
Love that.
infant dyke. Um, it took me a few years to find the words for it, but yeah, I've
Mm,
there's never been any question or doubt.
I kind of
Um,
love it.
yeah,
It's really
it's
good.
I'm fortunate to not have to have had that struggle. But I officially came out around the age of 13 or 14 when I was caught kissing one of my classmates. Uh, so kind of didn't have a lot of choice about that. On the other hand, I also didn't ever try to hide it. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it may not have been in those very early days something that I talked about. It was just me. It
Yeah.
was how I was and who I was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I grew up in the 70s. I was born in the 60s, but I was active in the first round of feminist movement and the gay and lesbian movement, which is what it was referred to at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I was very much involved in that and pride in my identity and um, being more open and more vocal. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Um, so when did you realize you were a writer?
Well, it was actually around the same time, um, but I'd always kind of scribbled things Um, but I really started writing about the same time, 13, 14. Um, and writing was how I coped.
Yeah.
It was an emotional release for me. It was a place to put what I was feeling or thinking internally and also about things around me.
Mm.
Um, and so, yeah, I do think I was born a writer. I think it's in my blood. And I can't not write. When I go through periods of not writing, it takes me a while to realize what's wrong. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm feeling all jammed up and just something is not clicking right. And then I realize, oh, I haven't been writing. And it can be just a line scribbled here or there, um, or, sit down for hours on end and just write. But my mental health and my physical health is best when I am writing.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that. It's like it shakes the sediment loose in your system,
Mm,
if it's been too still for too long.
mhm.
You've shared that writing has always been a way to give voice to what sometimes cannot be said out loud. When did you first realize that writing wasn't just expression for you, but connection? Like taking that feeling and then like stepping up a little bit into it.
Um, if I'm understanding your question correctly, the first time I really felt that was when I shared my writing with another person.
Ooh, and what was that? What did that look like?
Um, there's a, I have it here. There's a quote that I like that I
Yeah.
just recently came across. It's from a Joni Mitchell interview, uh, June 11 of
One of
2013.
one of my
It's,
favorites.
yes, it came along on my Facebook feed.
Hmm.
Um, and so I kind of tracked it down to be able to write the exact thing. And the quote for Joni was, "If you listen to the music and you see me, you're not getting anything out of it. If you
Hmm.
listen to the music and you see yourself, you'd learn something about yourself, and
Hmm.
now you're getting something out of it."
I love
So
that.
my writing, even though it's for me to express, what I
Hmm.
what really brings that connection is seeing or hearing about someone else who read something that I wrote, and for them it just really clicked and it fit.
Oh, it's
That
beautiful.
that's
Um, yeah, no, I mean, that's a great quote. It really resonates for me in the sense of if we're, because music for me is a whole love language in itself. And I think a lot of us kids, the Gen Xers of the world that grew up in the late 60s or 70s, and I think that I have journals of my angst and my,
oh
of poems that I wrote. And it's so funny when I go back to those moments, but I dated them even. I have
yes,
more poems that reflect my teenage years than I do photos because we
mm,
didn't have phones back then. And it was sort of like, if you had a little camera and you had images from that time, well, then that's just like icing on the cake. But I think
right,
for a lot of us deep feelers and and wanting to feel connected or having a lot to say and not knowing where to put it.
mm,
I love the idea that there's probably so much beautiful writing in the world sitting in a Rubbermaid bin somewhere,
right.
in a closet, somewhere. But um, I would love to understand who Katie was a little bit from your eyes and maybe from what friends described her as. I would love to get to know her before we kind of go into the book a little bit, and also talking about grief, in a more profound way.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Um, as I mentioned before, Katy came out later in life, and she didn't just come out of the closet, she burst out of it. She just, boom, that was it. She was out. And frequently when we were together and we were out for dinner or something, and somebody had a question, Katy was more often the one to say, "This is my partner," or in 2014, when we were able to legally marry, "This is my wife." And I would be the one who was still kind of like, shying away from using the terminology.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
But did you secretly kind of love it?
I did.
Good.
Yes. Yes. Um, she she very much was a leader. She was a licensed psychologist in private practice.
Mm.
And so she loved relating to people on whatever level. Um, she was always helping people, whether it was a stranger or family member or client,
Mm-hmm.
colleague. I think many people who knew her would say she had a big heart and she had a big spirit, and she was just an incredible force.
Mm.
And I never, ever felt or heard one judgmental thing come from her.
Ever?
Not that I can remember.
Wow, you mean geared towards you, or just like anybody?
In general.
I love that. So she really lived her life in a state of more being present and not worrying about what other people were doing, or laying judgment on what others might be doing or not doing, right? Or not showing up or showing up. I
Right.
think that's an admirable quality, for real. Like that, that's rare.
Yeah, very. Yeah.
Yeah. And beautiful.
Yes.
Tell me about your love, your courtship. How did you meet, and how did you woo her? Or was
Well,
it the opposite?
it was a mutual wooing,
I love that.
and how I will answer that question is that the universe brought us together.
I love that. Soul connection.
And yes, and we both always felt like we'd known each other before,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of our meeting was like, finally, here you
Yeah.
are, finally.
Yes.
Um, so there was a lot of laughter
Mm.
and joy
Mm-hmm.
in the beginning part of our relationship. That continued throughout the whole thing, but just in the beginning, it was a lot of just so happy to be with each other.
Mm. It's interesting. I'm in a very similar situation at the moment, meeting someone who really sees me, and how we see one another, and how the connection transpired was through soul. I've been on a healing and a spiritual journey since my divorce around 4 years ago, and this is like the first real like relationship that I have felt that at home peace with,
Mm.
where you kind of don't know why it happens organically, but you're just naturally supportive. There's this natural way of like, it's like a spiritual 5D dance, that
Mhm.
you probably did with one another. And it's enjoyable to sort of unpack that together, because when you've come from other relationships, as we do in life, and the lessons we've learned, when we are around someone who shows up in that softness, in that calm, in that steady presence.
Mhm.
It's so wonderful to be able to say, whoa, and be mindful. And also, there's like, you don't take it for granted because of how special it is in that space.
Mhm. Right.
Yeah, it's really cool. So, what do you most hope people understand about your relationship beyond the loss itself?
Hmm. That's a good question.
I love when authors say that. That makes me happy because it's hard to stump you guys.
Yeah, yep, that's a stumper. Um, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, what do you most hope people understand about your relationship beyond the loss itself? And I'm going to say this in another way or give an example. I have friends who have had deep rooted trauma. And a lot of times they lead with their trauma. And so sometimes, especially when you've written a memoir, I didn't want to get lost in the grief of it all. I also want to understand um, what the relationship felt like
Mhm.
before the loss happened.
Mhm. Yes. But what you will find in the book, um, as well as what I can answer about our relationship, is the love.
Mm,
Um, After Katie died, many people had said to me that we were very lucky because not everybody experiences the kind of relationship
mhm.
and connection and love that we had. Um, and for me, that comes through in the book as well. It's
Love
not
that.
just sorrow and pain and loss and grief and um, a downer of a book. The love also comes through.
It kind of gives a little bit of it's kind of feeling like an Andrea Gibson moment. If you saw, the Andrea Gibson documentary, so many haven't watched it, and these are just friends that I've asked, right? Because
Mhm.
they think it's just going to be about the sadness,
Yes, I
but
did see one.
right. It's the cancer was the vehicle of why these moments all happen, but
Mhm.
it's not how the branches are coming in from all over, but it's like the cancer was the vehicle, but the love is what I got most of out of that documentary. And I try to explain that to people. And I feel like your book is similar. Like people don't want to just be sad with you. They want
Mhm.
to also be inspired and, feel that and feel and understand what that kind of love, that rare love feels and sounds and reads like, right? I don't know
Mhm.
if you had the same feeling if you watched the documentary.
I did. I did. In fact, one of Katie's sisters recommended that documentary to me. And when I watched it, it was like, oh, wow. Yes, I totally get this, totally relate to it. It was very, it was very well done, but it was emotionally just grips your heart
Yes,
and makes you smile.
absolutely. Yes, it really does. It really does. Um, so you begin writing pieces that eventually became this memoir. During the years surrounding Katie's passing, was there a moment when you realized these writings were becoming something bigger than your private healing?
Yes, in March of 23, um, I came up and rented a cabin on the North Shore of Minnesota,
Mm.
which is a place that Katie and I love to go. And in fact, the cover of the book is Katie looking out into Lake Superior.
I wondered where that was. Okay,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. Yeah, that's awesome.
Um, and so I went to organize all of my writings of the previous 3 years. And when I was putting them together is when the book kind of hooked me. The idea for the book kind of hooked me. And since that point, it felt like something bigger than me was moving it along. And my job was to just stay out of the way and just let it happen as it will. Obviously I put it together, I chose the pieces, but it just, it felt bigger than me.
I love that.
And in some ways, I think I do intend to continue writing and doing other things, but in some ways, it feels to me like this was the book I was meant to write.
How are you going to even follow this? It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, dang, you raised the bar for yourself so much that I think you're going to have to give yourself grace for the second book, for the next book, right? And that kind of thing. But I really love this phrase, living grief, that you sort of, mention. That feels so different from the way our culture often talks about grief, as something to move past. What does it mean to live with grief instead of trying to resolve it? Because I told you before in our pre-chat that I lost my dad and in 2020, and I never haven't felt the need to, like, of course I grieve his spirit here on earth, like being able to pick up the phone and talk with him, but
Right.
I know more now in the sense of where our spirits live. And I also have a deep understanding after talking to several mediums that the veil is way thinner than we even know, unless you don't know what you know until you know it, right? But
Exactly.
but talk about that, that living with grief instead of trying to resolve it piece. I'm really curious about that from your perspective.
Yes, an interesting kind of side fact is in 2011, um, Katie, me, and one of her cousins, who was a good friend of ours, but mostly I was the one interested in doing it, um, studied to become a death midwife,
Doula,
right
a death
now known
doula.
as death doulas. Yes. And this was before it took off as much
Mhm.
as it has. At that time, it was still kind of, there was enough to begin learning more deeply about it, but
Mm.
it was still kind of like, what are you talking about?
Right,
That
right,
doesn't sound cool at all.
right.
Um, so I have studied death and dying and end of life issues, not in a formal setting, but just from my own studying. Um, I've also had too many people die in my life, so
Mm,
death was not new to me, including my parents and Katie's parents.
mm,
Um, but Katie's death blew me out of the water, even though I had all this experience. It was a whole nother level of grief. And as I was going through the pieces that I included in Losing Katy,
mhm,
I realized one of the main themes that comes through is the idea of living grief, that it walks with us, it ages with us. It's not something that we get through or have to conquer or get over, which our society, I think, is not very comfortable with death.
yeah,
Don't like to talk about it, don't like to think about it.
yeah.
And so oftentimes people who have lost someone, whoever, whether it's your pet or your parent or your partner, three P's. Um,
That's right. Right.
uh, there's this expectation of what you do with your grief and how you do it.
Yeah.
And the way that I feel is that every day of our lives, we live grief.
Mm-hmm.
It's with us, and we can embrace it or try to push it away, but either way, it's going to embrace us.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my pieces in the writing talks about how grief embraces you and whether or not you embrace it in return. And it stays with you like a necessary guest you need to accommodate.
Mm-hmm. My therapist used to say, you need to invite grief in for dinner.
Yeah.
Offer
Nice.
grief a glass of wine,
Mm-hmm.
allow grief to sit, and I think there's so many different forms of grief. Of course, we're speaking today grief on a profound level of losing, the beloved, the love of your life. But we also, I think, when you're speaking about we grieve daily, I think we're grieving old versions of ourselves. We're grieving of maybe time that we still have left on this earth without these magnificent human beings to it's sort of survivor grief,
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah.
we can sit in, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, there is that as well.
Are you afraid of dying?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so, but I like to ask.
Yeah. I am not afraid of dying. And at the time, Katie made that statement as well. I'm not afraid to die.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
How long before when she got sick? How long was that process for you? Um, that you guys had to deal with what was going on.
Katie had 2 strokes 10 days apart. And then 1 month to the day of the first stroke, she died.
It's that
Um,
suddenness. Oh, you couldn't prepare yourself for something
you
like
were just in it. It was like it became your entire life.
that. Yeah.
She pretty much recovered overnight from the first stroke. So I think it was more like a transient stroke.
Mm-hmm.
However, this was in July of 2020, in the midst of the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
where things were just beginning to, not businesses per se, but you could get together with a group of your immediate family outside.
Bubble, right? That bubble. Yeah.
And especially in the medical um, establishments, it was like, you're not allowed. So after her first stroke, we had time. We didn't know what had happened.
Mm-hmm.
Was it a stroke? Was it a heart attack? Was it a
Mm-hmm.
tumor? We had no idea. But we went over our legal documents and made sure that, we both did it, not just her,
Good.
because you never know.
Mm-hmm.
But that initial experience sparked us to review everything, and she reiterated what she wanted. And it was all very clearly written out in the healthcare documents.
Mm.
So we were able to have some pretty deep, heart-wrenching, emotional talks.
Yeah.
Um,
I can't
the
imagine.
second stroke affected her ability to speak,
Mm.
which, as a psychologist and as a person, that's how she connected to life. That was her, and it was very difficult. Um, And at that point, we still didn't know what had happened with the first event. I won't go into the details of that because it still pisses me off. But
Okay, yeah, valid. Yeah.
so she had the second stroke before we even knew that the first one was a stroke.
Wow.
Plus, we were in this COVID bubble,
Mm-hmm.
and Katie didn't want to go to an ER after the second stroke because I wouldn't be able to be there with her.
Mm-hmm.
And I know so many people who, not personally, but mine is not a unique situation at that time. I mean, we were hearing on the news about how people could not visit or see or be with their loved ones
Yes.
in the hospital or in a nursing home in some setting, medical setting, and they weren't able to be with them.
Yeah, my dad passed away, like I was telling you, July 2020.
Huh?
I honestly believe he died the way he wanted to because there was not one part of him that wanted to, if anything happened in his mind, he would not want to be sitting in a hospital FaceTiming us like while he's on a breathing apparatus or
Right.
like so for me and I think for my family we could understand how that piece of it where we were able to say, well, he died his way, truthfully, like he really did. And that gave me a little bit of peace feeling that.
Yes. That's.
I mean,
Can I ask what day he died?
July 13th, 2020.
When you started with the first part of 13th, it was like, I thought you were going to say the 3rd because that's when Katie died.
She died July 3rd.
Mhm.
Wow.
2020.
Yeah.
And her birthday is July 4th.
Oh my gosh.
Um,
Wow. So was she a firecracker? I mean, the
very,
way you explained her
very,
coming out, right? She was like, pop, like she exploded like a pyrotechnic, when she came out.
exactly.
That's
Yes,
really, really kind of interesting, isn't it?
it is.
Yeah, I love that. How has your relationship with memory evolved over time? Because it's now almost 6 years this summer for both of us, right? With that loss, how has your, how does it feel these days for you?
It being the
Like
loss.
the memory of how does the memory of her feel over time?
I was surprised. I had heard, the saying that after a loved one dies, the love that you feel or the grief you feel is the love you
Mm,
had for that person with no place to go, type of
mhm.
thing. I know I slaughtered that one,
No,
um,
I get it.
mangled it, but um, that was a surprise for me with as many experiences as I had with death. I had not necessarily experienced that piece of it. But with
Mm,
Katie, I came to understand that the love continues. And in fact, for me, I feel it has grown
mm,
and our connection has deepened.
mm,
In the beginning, definitely the first 3 years, I had a lot of experiences of either hearing her voice or feeling her near.
mhm,
Um, and those experiences brought comfort.
mhm,
And a lot of, I was thinking of this the other day, a lot of it was external. I would feel her near, and
mhm,
she would be like outside.
mhm,
Um, Now, and I think in large part due to putting the book together and putting it out there. I experience her more within me.
Mm.
So, like, if I say, Katie, I need to talk to you, it's not like I expect a external type connection. It's
Mhm.
inside.
Mm.
So that's how I experience Katie.
When you speak about her to me right now, I want to share something personal that I get these angel chills that come through my body when people are speaking a core truth.
Mm,
And when we have mentioned her in that spiritual capacity, I'm getting full body chills while you're talking, which
uh,
really tells me, and if they're coming again, that she's here present with us right now, enjoying what you're having to say, and really kind of allowing me to know that she's here. Sort of feels like I get to experience your love,
mm,
um, in a way that I don't think most, like, interviewers are going to kind of feel. But it's sort of, as my shaman has said, it's sort of a secret, like, superpower for me. So
mm,
I'm feeling this love with you in the moment, and how you were saying it deepens. And I kind of understand that when I was saying how now I know the veil is so thin that
mm.
they really are around us if we are open to being open.
Right,
And I
exactly.
I love that she, again, I just got full body heart chills. It's like really cool.
That's,
Um yeah, it's
hi,
really,
Katie.
yeah, exactly. Katie, thanks for joining us. So in the book, grief is framed as an extension of this love, right? What we're talking about. How has your understanding of love changed since Katie's passing?
Wow, that's another great question.
Thanks.
Um, my understanding now is that love really doesn't die. You know, the person you love may die, but the love doesn't die.
Mm, yeah.
Um, if I'm answering your question in the way that you meant it.
It's however you mean it.
Okay. Yeah, so I see and understand love everywhere
Mm,
to an extent. That doesn't mean that it's I have rose colored glasses on. What it means is that I feel it. And there's certainly not a lot of love going on right now in the world. But,
yes.
um, I just have a deeper understanding. And I might not be able to articulate that, but I have a deeper understanding of love and how it stays with us. And as I said before, how it even continues to grow after that person has died.
Was there anything in the book that you hesitated to include in the memoir because it felt too raw or sacred?
There were actually, I did not include every single writing in the book,
Mm,
and there were some pieces that I withheld because I wanted to keep it for me. I didn't
yeah,
want to share that.
yeah.
Um, the Let me think. It was one piece that was kind of hard to pull in was uh, Katie did not want treatment.
Mm,
Um, Part of it, like I said, even when she had to go for the MRI, I had to drop her off and sit in the parking lot while she went in. And she described that experience. She went in, somebody escorted her to the MRI. It
mm,
was at a hospital. All these spaces were blocked off. And so it was like a path that she and a maze that you had to get through to get to the MRI. And then they had to walk her back out. And that completely freaked her out. That, and she said nobody else was around. It was just very
It was
not good.
just sort of, yeah. I mean, I can't even imagine how some of these hospitals felt during that particular time.
Mhm. Right.
Only she has that experience with that, what she could share of that with you. So,
She so when she had that second stroke, she did not want to go to the ER. She didn't want to, and I didn't want her to go
of
in
course,
part because of the vulnerability of it. But
yes,
there was no way I was going to leave her side.
of course.
I mean, if she wanted that, then yes, I would have done that, but that would not have been my first choice. So the fact that had COVID not been going on, um, she may have gone to the doctor and did some follow up things to find out how extensive the stroke was.
Hmm.
Um, but on the other hand, I think her decision would have been the same. I think she would have decided not to have treatment. And that's a piece that, can make other people uncomfortable or possibly angry. Like,
Hmm.
you know, especially if you lost somebody and you had no control over that loss. Like, how can she decide not to have treatment
Yeah.
when,
But
in their
that's for everyone's own experience. I mean,
right.
it's for them to be able to say, but as a partner, I can't imagine keeping a tight lip on how you must have felt about that.
Yes, it was. First off, I knew about it because it was in her healthcare directive. So I
Hmm.
was kind of prepared for that.
Okay.
But you don't ever hope that that's something that you have to accept or
Hmm.
act on, And so it was like, on the one hand, I'm screaming, no, I don't
Yeah,
want you to go.
of
But on
course.
the other hand, I didn't want her to stay just for me
Right.
or for somebody else,
Right.
because if it's not the life and the quality of life that she was wanting,
Hmm.
it's not up to me to make her stay just for me.
Well, yeah,
Because,
you go back to the piece of her being silenced by that second stroke and the fact that she couldn't be her expressive self must have been absolutely frustrating for in every cell of her body at that point.
she was able to speak, but her words didn't always make sense.
Hmm. Could you speak Katie at that point?
I was just going to tell you,
Okay.
I call it Katie speak
Yeah.
because we were so
In tune.
connected and so had the intuition, intuitive, psychic connection.
Hmm.
We were able to figure out um, basically I knew what she was saying, and there were some things that she could respond to quite clearly, um, but also
Or if looks could kill you in the moment, right? Like just for eye contact. You could
yes,
probably tell from a lot of nonverbal cues as well, I'm gathering.
yes, yes.
How do you carry her forward today in your daily life? Where does she live within you?
Oh, she's everywhere.
Yeah.
Um, I I hadn't been planning to, but I ended up moving up to the North Shore
Mm,
um, just after the 3 year anniversary of her death. And so I've spent most of the first year and a half, 2 years, I repainted every room, ceiling to base floorboard,
Wow.
baseboard. I incorporated some of the colors that we had used before.
Hmm.
I incorporated, like one of the places we lived had one of those hanging pot structures. You know, you hang
Yes.
your pots up there. So I put one of those up.
Hmm.
Um, so I really brought her into this house with me,
Love that.
even if I hadn't done anything externally. She's just with me, and I believe that I am still with her very much.
Are you going to be open to love again? Will Jackie love again or stay heart open?
What I say to that is, once you've had the best, why try the rest?
I mean, it's admirable. I mean, you want
I'm
you're totally content being alone.
I am,
Good.
and I'm kind of fortunate to be one of those types of people. There's
Yeah.
a lot of people who don't like to be alone.
Yeah, I'm
That's
good
not
being
a
alone
judgment
too.
at all.
Yeah, totally.
Um,
I love hanging out with myself.
she was always, because she was 12 years older than me.
Mm,
So she was always saying, if I die first, I want you to find somebody, blah, blah, blah. And I
mm.
was always saying, no, it's not going
Yeah.
to happen. I'm not interested. Um, I, I'm not looking, um, but then again, you don't ever really know what's going to
Be
come
around.
along.
True. True.
But I'm very happy where I am with myself.
And learning a little bit more about you, I realize that you keep notebooks throughout your home for inspiration. Do you still do that?
I do.
I love
Mm,
that. So what has
even-
that practice taught you about creativity and presence?
Well, that's one reason somebody suggested that I put a notebook in each room of the house, um, because there'll often be times that a line will run through my head,
Mm-hmm.
and then I don't do anything with it, and it gets lost. So
Mm-hmm.
I do, when I don't have company, I keep a notebook everywhere,
Love that.
so that I can just jot down a line. Sometimes it's a full piece or just a couple pieces or a thought of something that I want to write about.
Mm,
Um,
I love that.
so that really helps me stay connected, and I'm happy when I don't forget certain things that came through my head and I'm able to write it down, because um, when things come to me, there's a reason and there's an importance behind it, and I don't like to miss those.
I really think it's cool how you allow for that spiritual side of you to sort of kind of come in and out and show itself to you being just open to taking in whatever, which is really cool. So my question after that is to say, what is calling you toward that next creative chapter? What are you writing now? What's coming out of that that spiritual side of you or that beautiful big brain of yours?
Um, there have always been two things I wanted to do when I grew up: uh, be a therapist and or be a writer.
Mm,
I did go toward becoming a therapist. I did a BA in psychology, and then I started a doctoral program
wow.
in clinical psychology. I decided I didn't want to work with people, so I was going to study forensic psychology.
Mm.
'Cause that
That's what I
way,
wanted to study when I was back then, but I just went with regular psychology. But
yeah,
I love, so do you like the Scarpetta files, like the Scarpetta books and things like that?
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
that's awesome.
I
I
do
love
enjoy.
that series. That's what actually really made me want to like be in forensic psychology was frickin' Case Scarpetta. And
Yes,
there's a new show coming out with that she wrote, but starring Nicole Kidman.
Nicole
So
Kidman. Yeah.
I'm really excited for that.
Yes.
So are you
Um,
writing?
so I'm right now I'm doing a lot of promotion for Losing Katy, but
Mm,
um, I have 3 stories going, um, novels are magical realism, almost
mm,
magical realism,
that's
and
fun.
because I like that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, it's probably a nice escape for you.
Mhm.
I mean, it would be for me. I mean, I live for those kinds of fantasy, Avatar, The Hobbit, all those sorts of,
Right.
they're just enjoyable and just good entertainment. So something that I love doing near the end is the fun rapid fire. Are you ready?
Okay, hit me.
Morning writing or midnight inspiration?
Oh, I'm not a morning person, so I'm going to go with midnight.
Okay. I know you like coffee, but coffee, tea, or something stronger.
Coffee in the morning, something stronger in the evening.
What are you sipping in the evening?
Well, Katie's drink at the end was tequila, a certain
Mm,
brand of tequila. I tried to make the switch, but I didn't quite do it. I do a shot of tequila on certain anniversaries,
mhm,
for her. But I'm a vodka person, so.
mm. Interestingly, fun fact, my dad too liked tequila. These
Hmm,
two,
really? Huh.
they died 10 days apart. They totally
Exactly.
different genders, but they very similar in so many odd ways. So, poetry or prose?
Mm,
I love asking a writer this
I do
because
both.
everything has a meaning and why it comes to you. And like, you can't
Exactly.
necessarily pick one, but I'm just curious what you enjoy writing most.
I think for me, I start out writing poetry and it turns into prose.
Hmm. I think,
It
yeah.
happens.
Lake Superior, sunrise or sunset?
Sunset.
Yeah, because you're not a morning person. I
Not a
get it.
morning
I
person,
get
but
it.
those sunsets are just spectacular.
If you're reading something now or can think about the books that you've read, what's a book that really changed your life?
Wow. These aren't just quick, fun things.
Sometimes I have a couple that are just, I mean, most people
I
like,
have to think about it. Um, it takes me back many, many years.
Mhm.
So it's not something I read recently. Um, one of the first things that I read that made me think that I could be a writer.
Mm.
Um, I don't know if you've ever heard of Hugh Prather,
Mm-mm.
Notes to Myself.
Mm-mm.
And it was basically, you know, he would just write down daily things between him and his wife or, just his own thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw that, I thought, yes, that's, if that's out there, because for poetry, it wasn't supposed to use the word I
Mm-hmm.
at the time.
Mm.
Um, and, writing about yourself in any kind of way was not really
Mm-hmm.
embraced in the writing community. But um, when I read that, it was like, okay, so maybe there is a place for me
I love
to write.
that. I love that. Um, pen and paper or a laptop?
Pen and paper. Got to have
Nice.
that connection. I get lost in the laptop. I mean,
What? Yeah, it's you just like feeling that sort of that feeling of really crafting and, just that, I don't know, it's kind of a visceral feeling when you're writing pen to
It
paper.
is. And
Yeah.
it's a connection.
It is a connection. I agree. What does living out loud mean to you?
I think we should ask Katie that question.
Hey,
She would have a better answer.
I know. What would she have said? It's okay. We can pull it out of her.
The city that I live in right now is not a very out loud place to be. Katie and I lived in Minneapolis, and I lived there for almost 40 years before moving up here. So, kind of how I started when I talked about coming out, I've always lived my life as just me.
Yeah.
And with the current atmosphere, for the first time since I was a teenager, having names called at me for walking down the street wearing a hat and a fake leather coat, I've really had to think about being a lesbian and being, what does that mean in my community, and what does it mean in the community at large, other than just my local one. Still, when the more that I hear talk about against LGBTQ plus people, the more active I become in it, the more verbal I become in it. And without Katie by my side, which is a living example of living out loud.
Yes.
I've found that I've had to vocalize my pride, and more than I had necessarily when I was with Katie, because to me that spoke everything. So yeah, the more that it's brought up as being something against, the more comments I'll make on Facebook, or the more I'll talk about it with family and friends. Whereas before I never really talked about it. I just was me.
Yeah, totally.
So
I agree.
that's kind of how
that resonates. I get that. Jackie, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for taking time. Thank you for writing the book. Thank you for saying and sharing your love, and sharing her with all of us. Really appreciate it. And I wish you nothing but success in the future, and hopefully we'll stay in touch.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. I enjoyed this.
Oh, I'm so glad. That makes me happy. Thanks.
Thank you.
If you liked this episode, please hit the follow button, and remember, sharing is caring. Until next week, stay proud, stay loud.